Hi, Sophia. How are you doing today?
Hi, Micah. I'm really well. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
I was
So you
having a
spoke.
real, sorry.
Sorry.
I was gonna say I was having a real 4-H moment this morning. I'm raising chickens right now, and I was out feeding them and just thinking about how we were going to be doing this afternoon, and I got really extra excited.
Oh, that's awesome. How many chickens do you have?
10, and they're
Oh,
little. You guys want to see
wow.
a picture?
Sure.
Oh my gosh, hold on. You get a sense kind of how big they are. That's Tilda.
Oh,
Yeah, they're really sweet. And we've got, oh, there you go. There's the little girls. It's all in their little coop hanging. I've got their nest boxes blocked off. They're very, very sweet. And I'm just really excited. I've always wanted to raise chickens, and I kind of felt like what a perfect time to go for it. And since we're staying home, I figured I'd get them from tiny little babies.
that's so
Pretty
cute. I
crazy.
wanted to raise chickens when I was about, I think, elementary school. I was like, Mom, Dad, I want to raise chickens for my 4-H project. And they just looked at me and they were like, we live in an urban setting. I don't think that's gonna work. I was like, please. And like we did all the research, and I didn't realize like how hard it is to like raise chicken and maintain everything. So I decided not to do it. I took on studying projects instead, but it's something I really like to do in the future.
Yeah. Well, let me be the evidence. It's never too late, and it's fun. It is definitely a lot of work, but they're awesome.
Yeah, I have to do it one day. Maybe when I get my own house. You've spoken out about mental health in the past and how important emotional well-being is. What inspired you to bring awareness to these issues?
Well, I think what's so important for all of us to remember is that mental health and the way that we feel and the way that we move through the world every day, our confidence, the doubts that we have, those aren't, I think, they're not issues, they're us. And I think that it's incredibly important for all of us to get a little more vulnerable and to be a little more frank and outspoken about what it means to live and move through a world that can at times be very inspiring, but also at times be incredibly stressful and hard to navigate. And that's especially when you're a young person and you're figuring out your place in the world. So, if anything, I think it's kind of a responsibility to share and be honest there so that other people know that they're not alone.
Yeah, I agree. And when I was 9 years old, I lost 75% of my hair. I was diagnosed with alopecia areata, and it was such a hard time for me because I um, I think having hair it just was a way to express yourself, and I just felt like I lost that identity. And my 4-H members and leaders helped me build my confidence back up. And I was able to talk about my emotions with my family members, what I was going through at the time. So they made that process a whole lot easier about talking about my mental health and making sure I kept that a priority for myself.
And and do you think that having a support system like that, people who encouraged you to share and to be really open about how you were feeling, made you feel more empowered to be open even when you weren't with, your 4-Hers in other spaces too?
Yes, they were. I think having a support system is, I think, a key in my life because I know if I'm feeling down, I can call someone, text, or go to them in person. And be like, this is what I'm going through right now, and
Mhm.
same thing, they can do that for me as well if they're feeling down. Especially, I think right now through COVID-19 pandemic, being isolated in our homes can be um, very, very lonely. So I know that with technology today, I can call my friends or an adult to talk about.
Yeah, that's so important. And I wonder if you've experienced this because something that I realized, and there's a whole bunch of reasons why teenagers and especially girls are raised in this society that makes us feel a lot of shame and a lot of self-doubt and a lot of fear. I know that when I started feeling more empowered to be vulnerable with my friends, with my coworkers, with the people in my life, the stuff that I used to think might be embarrassing to share, or I would sort of have that internal dialogue of, is this going to be crazy? If I express that I'm feeling this way, is everyone going to go, whoa, that's kind of a lot? And instead, what I found was, once I kind of got over those fears and decided to say, this is what I'm struggling with, this is what I need some help with, this is where I could really use some input, instead of people going, whoa, everyone went, oh, you too? Yeah, I'm going through something similar to that. Oh, I went through that with my family. Or, oh yeah, I had a really hard time at my first job because of this. And what it did was it made me understand that people really lean in to meet you there, rather than what we think, which is like, maybe they'll push us away. Did you find that too with your kind of, your group, your people?
I really did. And I think even now, when we started the Navigating Your Thoughts project, I came to my 4-H is, this is what I want to do, because mental health is so stigmatized in my community. And I wanted to talk more openly about it, but it was just so hard. And I struggled with like, why? And so when I came to my county leaders, this is what I want to do. I want to talk about mental health. And they're like, I told them about my struggles with anxiety. I get very anxious sometimes, a lot of the times. And they're like, no, I do too. And then it created an open conversation for all of us. And I think it was really neat for all of us just to connect in this way.
That's really cool.
What are some ways that you cope with negative feelings?
Well, I think first and foremost for me, it's been learning to identify them. I'm sure that in your studies at school, you've heard that term, feedback loop. And that idea that our brains will create these feedback loops. So, for example, maybe you've had a conversation with someone and it didn't go the way you wanted it to, or you experienced something frustrating at school, and you're kind of obsessing later, and you're like, God, what I should have said. I wish I'd had this fact in that moment so that I could have responded in this way. You can get kind of caught on that and replay that conversation over and over again. You can get stuck in a feedback loop. And we do that with ourselves too. We do that with negative thoughts. We do that with self-criticism. And in learning, as I've studied this stuff, that it can take 100 positive thoughts to undo a negative one. It's kind of like, think about social media, right? 40 of your friends could say something so nice to you about something you post, but one random internet troll ruins your day. One person who says something really mean. And that's because our brains are wired to take that stuff in a different way. And so once I understood that, it didn't make me less sensitive. It didn't make hard things less hard, or insults kind of less hurtful. But what it did was it made me understand that I had to take a little bit of the power back. I had to create a positive feedback loop to try to undo a negative one. So if I was feeling really down on myself, or thinking I'm never gonna be able to do this, I'm never gonna achieve this goal, what if I never make it to that kind of marker I set for myself, I would have to step back and think, okay, here's some things I have done that I'm really proud of. Here are the relationships in my life that I know are trustworthy and really valuable, and I love these people and I know they love me. Here's where I know my support system is. Here are things that I've done for my community that I can be really proud of. Those are the kinds of things that you can remind yourself of, so that the negative thing that you're experiencing in the moment doesn't become a runaway train that kind of takes you somewhere you don't want to go.
Well, that's really cool. One of my ways that I've been coping through this time is journaling my thoughts and like feelings I have, because instead of dwelling on them, I think like you said before, identify what that feeling is and write it down. It's been helping me a lot. Being home, because I just feel like I'm just home, so I can write it down.
I think that's so smart. There's a lot of really cool research around what journaling actually does for you. How it can take the thoughts that are in your head and actually move them out of your body, so you can process them instead of, to use your perfectly chosen word, dwell on them, which can make things really tough to move past. And so I think that's a really cool practice. I'm still trying to become a journaler. I haven't quite gotten there, but I'm making an effort.
And it wasn't really easy picking up that journal at first. It actually took. I wanted to just start journaling last year. Every time I picked up the journal, like, what do I put down right now? And then
Yeah.
it just took like 2 months ago. I, I just started like I grabbed a pen and paper and just started writing down my feelings. Like, whoa, it was a
Mm,
really powerful moment. I'm never gonna forget that day where I started doing that, and it gets easier every day.
yeah, that's really cool. I was actually asking a friend of mine's a really talented writer, and I was asking her how she manages her journal practice because journaling is for her. And, if she's writing a book, that's a whole different thing. And so I asked her, I said, how do you keep writing? And she said, well, I have a non-negotiable journaling practice in the morning. And I asked her that question because I said, yeah, but what do you write? Because if you sit down and you're like, what am I even supposed to put on these pages today? And she said that she started this really interesting exercise with herself where every morning she sits down and the first thing she writes at the top of the page is, what would you have me know? And she was like, I can't explain to you what the science is behind it. She said, but there's something where, because she asks herself a question, her brain just answers it. And every day, she said, every day something comes out about how she's feeling or this thing she was thinking about, or, an article she read 2 weeks ago that really struck her for some reason, or something she saw on the street that was really inspiring. And every day as she starts answering the question in her journal, she's so surprised by the answer. And it's her time with her own mind. And I thought that was a really cool, not only practice for a writer, but a practice honestly of mental health care in a way, because you're just asking yourself how you feel and what you're thinking about.
That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that. Another way that I like to cope is by staying positive and coming up with affirmations for myself. So there's one activity from the 4-H guide that I like to do with each day. It's called a calming jar. We write down affirmations for ourselves and put them in a jar. And then if we're having a bad day and we need some positivity, we can pick up the little note and read it to
I love that.
ourselves. Okay. Um,
Shall we?
yes, I'm gonna write on mine. My feelings are important and valid.
I love that. I've got my paper and pen, and something that I have really been working to accept for myself, and also to talk to other people about how they deserve to accept it for themselves too, is this idea that you are allowed, or I guess I should say I am allowed, it's an affirmation for me, right? I am allowed to be both a masterpiece and a work in progress simultaneously. And what that means to me is that I want to feel like I am enough today while I still set goals, right? So I'm a work in progress, but today I'm allowed to be a masterpiece. Today I'm allowed to feel like I'm enough, because if all I ever do is focus on my goals, then I always kind of feel like I haven't done enough yet. But if you get too complacent in the present, then maybe you're not going to work hard to achieve your goals. So I like this idea that you can be both at the same time.
Oh, that's really good. And I'm writing my feelings are important and valid because I can get so caught up when other people are saying, and just caught up in social media too. So just telling myself my feelings are important and valid.
Yes. Okay. Affirmation, jar. I'm going to pretend ours are going in the same jar over Zoom.
Here's mine.
Love it. I cheers you an affirmation, my friend.
Here's you too, Sophia. Okay. So another one. I am capable of great things. So that's just another one. I think my not to listen to my negative thoughts, listen to my positive ones.
Yeah.
I think I'm going into college in the fall semester, so just telling myself when I have those hard assignments and just those hard days that I'm capable of great things, no
Honestly,
matter what life throws my way.
That is a great reminder, and I'm going to use it, and I am going to write the same because I feel like it's something I could stand to hear. It's funny that it feels so good to read that, isn't it?
It is.
I feel like in addition to journaling, this should be a daily practice.
I think I'm gonna start really doing this on like every day, like challenge myself to write something for myself. I'm gonna write. I am not alone. I have a great support system in my 4-H family and family friends. So just knowing that if I'm having a hard day, I can call them, send them a text.
I really like that, and I think to that point, when we're reminded that whether we feel lonely or scared or stressed, that all of our feelings are valid. I think that writing all of my feelings are valid feels like a good reminder in a time like this. Because if we can all validate our emotions, we can accept them, and then we can move through them. So this feels important.
Thank you so much for sharing yours with me, Sophia. But before we go, is there anything you want to tell kids that are struggling with their mental health right now?
I think the thing that I would love to share is truly to reiterate your feelings are valid, and this is a tough time. It's unprecedented. We've never been through something like this before, but one of the things that's really been inspiring me and reminding me of one of the principles, which I think you learn even being in 4-H, is that we're a team. And when we're a team, we're capable of really incredible things. And when I have to leave my house, for example, to go to the grocery store, and I see everyone at the grocery store wearing a mask and distancing and giving each other a hand where they need it, I just feel so grateful for the people who look at each other as teammates. So I would say to all the kids out there, if you're part of 4-H, you know how to be part of a really amazing team. And I think it's that team spirit that's going to get us through this. It's okay that it's hard, own that stuff. And then my hope for all of us, really, whether you're a kid or an adult, is that we can own those feelings and then figure out what we're going to do with them. If we're feeling stressed, how are we going to put love out in the world? If we feel alone, who are we going to call to make sure they don't feel alone either? And by calling someone on a FaceTime or a Zoom, we're reminded that we have our teammates out there. So I think we can apply that kind of team spirit everywhere that's possible going forward, and that'll be the thing that helps us see the other side of this.
Thank you for your advice, and thank you, Sophia. Thanks for everyone watching. For more information on mental health and resources and curriculum, please visit 4-H.org.